and we're back. And this is going to be episode 9 of the poker vlog. My name's Kyle Fischl, and I decided to do this intro at Topgolf. Like, it kind of shows you how when you win, you're on an upswing, you have extra money to do fun stuff. Like, so the last 2 weeks, I've made a little over, $2,400 in 2 weeks. So that's a good upswing, back on track, doing the level of income we want from poker. And I'll get into hand analysis at the usual setting. Alright, now let's go over some hands from this weekend. A first one that was kind of interesting, I opened from the cutoff with Jack Queen of Spades. Pretty playable hand. When there's 3-4 limpers, I make it 25, and I get 4 callers, so $100 pot. The flop is Jack 10-9, 9 of spades. So honestly, not the worst flop for me. It's check to me, and I decide to bet here because obviously top pair plus straight draw is pretty strong. I bet 40, and a player who's a regular at the 2-5 in Orange City, Orlando, who's very, very good, probably one of 2 or 3 very good regs that I play against, he raises to 100. I know this player would do this with sets, 2 pairs, and already made straights. Now, there's still hands that I have decent equity against, and I mean, he could even do it with like 10 queen, which I'm actually beating because he's, a good player. He knows that he has a strong hand. So I choose to call one street because the odds, it's only 60 more to call, and that gives me good odds to, hit a king, hit an 8, maybe hit a queen, and that would scare him if he had like 7-8. I choose to call, and the turn is an offsuit 5. Not what we were looking for. Pretty blanky, and he leads out for 150. Now I gotta fold. So, that hand was kind of big, didn't go our way, not what we wanted, but it kind of led me into my next hand, which happened. A few hands later, I'm under the gun, and I have ace queen of hearts. Hearts is my favorite suit. Not really logical or anything that could be analyzed, just I usually do good with hearts, is what it is. So I like hearts. Under the gun, ace queen suited. It's definitely raisable, but I don't really want to go too big because under the gun there's so many people behind you. So I just make it 20, and the player under the gun +1 right to my left, it just calls, which I think that's going to be bad because I think, it's just going to open the gate for everyone to call. Only the big blind calls. So we're 3 ways to a flop, which is 10-8 deuce with 2 hearts. Pretty good flop for me. I choose to check. The under the gun +1 player shoves all in for 100. Big blind folds. Now, when it comes to me, I actually think about this for a while because realistically, it's not a terrible call or fold because, they clearly want a flush draw to fold, and they could do this with hands like pocket 10s. Which, my overcards aren't live there, or 2 pairs. And they do that, my overcards aren't live either. I also consider, she could have ace 10, and if my ace is dead, then I'm still not doing too great. But maybe I was a little bit tilted from the last hand where I, lost $100, and this is 100 into 160, so I choose to call because I've actually seen this player bluff before, so she could have hands like Jack 9, 9-7. She could have, I've seen her do it with under pair, so she could have like 7s or 6s, which I could actually counterfeit with like an 8 and a 10 that hit. So there are actually hands that I'm ahead of. I'm kind of tilted from the last hand. She's definitely tilted because she's on her third buy-in of $600 or $800. She could be bluffing. She could have ace jack, so I choose to call. I probably shouldn't have just because she was under the gun +1, so I think it's more likely she has a hand than she doesn't. But anyway, I choose to call. Turn is a 3, not of hearts. Not too happy with that. I literally say, dealer, I need a heart. But he doesn't give me one. Instead, he gives me a queen. So, very happy with that. I show my hand first because I know it's good. And she just implodes. She's just like, oh my god, why would you even call that? That's so bad. Oh my god, why would you do that? And then shows 110. I'm like, sorry, is what it is. Alright, for our next interesting hand, I look down at ace 7 of hearts in light position. Now, suited aces, generally, I like to just limp because I want all hands like, 5, 6 of hearts to be in there. So if I get a flush, I flush over flush someone, and that's where you're going to make a lot of money in a cash game. So I want to keep all those bad, even like king 3 of hearts. Like I want hands like that paid $5 that limped in to stay. So I get a pretty much a dream flop. I get 6, 7, 8, 6 and 8 of hearts. So I got middle pair plus flush draw. Check to me, and I make it 25. Now, when I make it 25, I'm doing it for 2 reasons. One, I want to build a pot in case a flush comes. And 2, I could already have the best hand. People might play with like ace 9. They might play with a worse flush draw and just already be paying money. And so there's many hands that I beat. And I got the pair in case things don't go my way. So my plan is to just check and get a free river if I don't improve on the turn. But the turn's actually really good. The turn is an ace of clubs. So now I have 2 pair. So now I beat pretty much everything besides a straight. And I'm happy to go for pure value. I want every hand under the sun to call. So I bet 50. One player calls, and another player is actually thinking. Like, it's not fake, I'm going to raise thinking. Like he had chips in his hand, he has cards in his hand. He went to fold, he went to call. Like, it wasn't fake. I have, 9-10 right now of hearts. When you play poker for a long time, you can tell the nonsense and the BS. It's pretty clear. But he was really thinking. He eventually calls, and the river is an offsuit 9. So, pretty horrendous card. 4 to a straight on the board. Not what I was looking for. So it checks to me. I honestly expect to just check and win. I don't see many 5, 6s playing this way to get the lower end of the straight. And if you had the upper end of the straight, I expect you to lead out because you made your hand. I mean, it checks to me. I check. Happy with 2 pair. Decent sized pot. And the opponent that was actually thinking showed 7-10. The old call with 3rd pair on a 3-card straight board and hit a gut shot on me. Did not like that one. Anywho, we bounce back. And the next 3 hands that I'm going to go over, I'm going to preface them by saying I've really changed up my strategy a bit in terms of my overall game. I'm going much, much more towards a passive approach. Like before, I was always aggressive, always betting top pairs, always betting when I had it. Now I'm going for checks with like medium strength hands and checking down with medium strength. When I was going over my hand history in the past, being too aggressive has actually cost me money in spots where I didn't need to. So I'm really trying to be much, much more passive in my gameplay. It's been working out for me the last few weeks. In this hand, I have ace king. It's middle position, ace of clubs, king of spades. The player directly to my right, very aggressive, young man, just kind of my age. And I say that because everyone else I play at a 2-5 table is very old and, has businesses and a lot of money, and I'm just there to try to relieve some of it from him. He bets 25 under the gun. I call. The other player with the 7-10 offsuit, he calls. I have to preface this story because he is not a strong player. He's been showing down hands like that a lot, and he's winning with them. He's on his 3rd buy-in, and he is making the most of this 3rd buy-in. He has a stack of like 2 or 3K in front of him now because he just keeps winning with stuff like that. Flop is Jack 5-4, all offsuit. Young aggressive player to my right bets. I'm not willing to give it up for 1 bet, especially when he bets at 35. Like, he bet 35 into 3 other people, and I literally just do the math. Over $100 pot, and I have just overs. And I actually calculate my bluff odds into this. It's so small that I don't really expect him to have a jack here. I expect him to have like 8s and 9s and all kinds of stuff like that. So my plan is to bet with any card that is above a jack, which, obviously ace and king give me a pair, but if a queen hits, I'm going to bet. If a scary-ish card hits like a 10, I could still bet. Anything that could perceivably hit my range or give me a better hand. So I call the 35 on a pure float, ready to bluff the turn. Not so great player from the previous hand. He calls as well. Now I really don't like his call because he could much more likely have like jack 8 and just, oh wow, you flopped a pair with a terrible hand, because he's been doing stuff like that all day and never leaving. When the turn is a 9, I'm kind of ready to just give up. I mean, there's 2 clubs on board. I have the ace of clubs, and I think that I could like bet repping a flush draw, like maybe ace jack of clubs. Like there's some few credible hands that I could have, and the aggressive player checked to me. And I really believe that I'm better than him right now. I just think that the weak player is going to call with everything. I don't like that. I check, and the weak player checks as well. I mean, the river is the king of hearts. Love it when a plan comes together. And now, the aggressive player bets $140. Well, I really can't raise here. It's such a big bet. Like, I suppose I could, but maybe being passive actually induced a bluff. Maybe he has king-queen. I hope he doesn't have king-jack, and I actually think he could, but I don't think he could check the turn having king-jack. I really just assume I'm better than the aggressive player, and I take a bit to think about it because I want to look kind of weak so that the weak player calls as well, so I can get some more money in there. So I call, or weak player thinks for a while, then folds. Aggressive player says pair of 4s. And I just say I can beat a pair of 4s. And I don't even show it till he shows. I want to see. He had 7-4. What were you raising under the gun with that? Okay, whatever. Alright, in this next hand, I'm in the small blind. 2 limpers. The aggressive player to my right's on the button. I have ace-jack in the small blind. Now I make it 25. I have to size up a little bit here because I want to fold out some weak hands. And it works out. The limper folds, and the aggressive player to my right on the button, he calls, which I expect him to do with his whole range that he limps with when he raises under the gun with 7-4. So, yeah, he's going to call everything. Flop is ace-queen deuce, all offsuit. Because I have the pre-flop aggression, and I know this player's aggressive, and I'm already trying to get a little bit more passive in my play to induce bluffs and get some money that way, I choose to check because I believe he would both bluff and he would value bet a queen. And if he doesn't have a queen, then he probably wouldn't call a bet. So I think the best move here is to check because he's going to bet a lot of his range. He's going to bet a lot of his bluffs. And he does. He bets $35. So I think for a bit, then call. The turn is an 8, full rainbow on board. I check again. He bets $90. Pretty big, but I just don't see him ever having an ace and then limping with it. So I call again. The river is a 4. I check to him. He counts out $200. Then he counts out $250. Like, he doesn't even look at my cards. He just throws them in. I'm like, yeah, I bet that complete air isn't going to win here, man. So that made me laugh. So that was kind of an example how passive play probably got me more money than it should have, because both the ace-king and the ace-jack situations, I wouldn't have bet 90 on the turn, and I probably wouldn't have got called 90. And I probably wouldn't have bet 35 on the flop, and it probably wouldn't have got called. And when I ace-king, I probably wouldn't have bet 150 when the king hits. So being passive kind of helped me out here. Well, that's about it for this week. I made $1,059. Pretty good return. I had a good time. I really hope people that watch the video will comment how I played. I like reading comments. It's how I get better. Like anyone who has advice or opinions, I love reading them. I usually respond. There will be more to come. Thank you.